We're back with some more transfer talk, people. We have a lot of news, exciting news, and a lot of fresh faces. Who do you want to start with? I feel like I feel like starting with Liverpool today because I'm jealous of them. They got a signing that I have been begging and pleading for Arsenal to sign. Dominik Szoboszlai. In my opinion, what a baller this guy is. Creativity, just decision making. When you see this guy's technique, bro, like the way he connects with the football, to me, is different. He is like when he hits it, he reminds me of like a Ericsson. He reminds me of a De Bruyne. He has that kind of connection. He has that kind of touch, in my opinion. In my opinion, I hate saying it, but is the next top playmaker the Premier League is looking at.
At that point, I'll tell you one crazy stat. The guy has had 18 penalties in his career. He's only missed one. But what's crazy is that he always goes the same direction. But his connection, like you mentioned, and the accuracy and the power is so strong that even if the keeper gets the right direction, which a lot of the times they know where they're going, which is to their right, to the keeper's right, they can't save it.
You know why? Because that motherfucker is cold. Pardon my language, but that motherfucker is cold, bro. And I don't mean just cold like he's good in the slang term. I mean cold like he's cold in his veins, bro. Ice cold. You can just see, you can feel it. You feel the energy. And as you mentioned, that connection, when he connects with the football, is different. And that's why we always say football is always about that technique, the way you connect with the ball. You know, when you hit the ball hard, it's not necessarily about how much force you put in behind it. It's not about how strong your leg is. No, it's about how you connect with the football. And Dominik Szoboszlai has already tormented England before in the past. We've seen it for Hungary in the Nations League, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he had a dazzling performance against England.
Yeah, I guess this applies more to strikers, but it's hard to fail when you've got that good of a technique on the ball, just in terms of hitting the ball. Um, I'd say the same thing about Gakpo. He's got great shot in him. Still yet to see his true potential. But I mean, he is from the Bundesliga though, right? And he's never lit up the league. Let's be fair. So far in his career.
Well, here's the thing. The Bundesliga has produced, obviously, we know flops in the league, but they've produced talent that I think we just overlook at times. Nobody talks about the fact that De Bruyne came from the Bundesliga. We don't really talk about the fact that Gundogan came from the Bundesliga too. Joel Matip had a great time at Liverpool. Sure, he wasn't maybe necessarily their top defender, but he had a great time from the Bundesliga. I don't think that just because you came from the Bundesliga means you're going to be a flop. But I respect the fact that you asked that question because the question is deservedly asked when coming from the Bundesliga. You need that question asked. So if I was to answer that question, I don't think that should be a major issue for Liverpool fans. And for anybody who is a Dominik Szoboszlai fan, I don't think that should be a major worry at all. You should be excited about this. And what would have excited me about this signing a lot is that price tag. If I'm being real, in today's market, we spoke last episode about the difference between today's market and how Harry Kane would be valued in today's market versus the past. Dominik Szoboszlai for 60 million hitting that release clause is a friggin' steal in today's market.
I wouldn't say a steal, but yeah, it's a good price, certainly a good price. One
I'm
thing
saying
again,
steal.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, let's see how he performs. But one thing, some similarities to draw from his predecessor, both at Liverpool and Leipzig. Naby Keita, they both came from Leipzig. They both, I mean, Keita wore the number 8. Szoboszlai gonna wear number 8. I do believe that Szoboszlai is a better fit for that number 8 shirt. You know, the number 8 was famously worn by Stevie G or Slippy G. And, you know, you mentioned...
You had to get that one in.
Yeah, I had to, of course. When you mentioned the crazy connection that he has with the ball, you mentioned De Bruyne, you mentioned Eriksen, you forgot Steven Gerrard. Yeah, I mean, that man's had a wicked shot in him. And on top of that, there's a reason why Liverpool constantly shop at Leipzig or any Red Bull clubs. You know, they also signed Minamino, and that didn't work out. But there's a reason why Liverpool goes for those players, because they, at a higher picture, they pretty much play the same system, right? The tempo is a lot higher with those Red Bull teams, but high press, high intensity. And I don't know if his level of intensity and the pressing is top class yet, but I'm sure that's something that Jurgen Klopp can develop and mold in him. And I do think that in terms of like for like swap, I think he goes straight in for Henderson. You look at that midfield now, you're looking at McAllister, which is again a bargain, right? Was it 35 million pounds? Szoboszlai on the right, and Fabinho to sit back. Question marks over Fabinho. I like I said before, I think he's washed. I don't know if he can handle Szoboszlai's attacking mindedness, as well as if McAllister were to bomb forward. But you know, now they've got Trent in the midfield to sit with Fabinho. You know, so let's see. But I'll also say this: from what I've seen and from what the teams have shown, forget what Arsenal have done, forget what Chelsea can do, forget what United can do. I think Liverpool are the only team that can match City at their level.
Well, that's a big statement still. I take a little bit of disrespect to that because I think we're on the rise and I think that we can challenge them. But that is fair. That is
From
fair.
what I've seen, from what I've seen.
And like I said, Liverpool have been a top team for the past several years. So that's a fair claim. Now, I want to go back to a little bit what you were talking about before. You spoke a little bit about Liverpool purchasing from Leipzig because of their similar playing styles, the high pressing. From what I've seen of Szoboszlai, like, as much as I am a fan of him, I don't watch him week in, week out. Like, I do want to make that clear. I have seen him enough to know that I appreciate his gameplay, his style. He's an excellent player. But the reason I said that I make it clear that I don't watch him week in, week out is because that is one aspect of his game that I somewhat question, that pressing aspect. Can he be that guy to high press like that? I don't think so. I think that he's more balanced in the sense of creating and being that playmaker for the team, getting on the ball, making things happen, like rely on him. Like, he kind of reminds me of a Bruno where that's concerned. But I think that's just gonna add a whole new dimension to Liverpool's game. I think he's gonna offer things differently, almost provide the creativity that Firmino provided in a different way, a little bit deeper than Firmino, but that's what he's bringing to the team. I don't see him in there more for his defensive work rate, which worries.
Yeah, I mean he'll have to do it, which is a worry. But either way, Liverpool have got a player that they desperately needed. They've got Trent now to find those pockets from behind, from deep, and now they've also got Szoboszlai in between the lines, higher up the field, to find those passes. So now they're not just relying on Trent's long balls to switch to make the space, or Salah's individual brilliance. They've got someone else to provide that creativity, like you said.
So, with that said, do Liverpool make a comeback this season?
I think it depends on Fabinho. It really does. If Fabinho has to step up.
So let's say you have to predict what Fabinho is going to do. You have to predict. Do you predict Fabinho is going to perform or he's not going to perform?
I don't. I mean, the guy's probably 35. He probably faked his age papers. Like there's the drop in form that he's had is just crazy. So unless, I mean, at this point, we don't know if they're gonna sign Lavia, and we'll have to see if Lavia can't even perform at a club like Liverpool. But at this stage, I think they've got to move on from Fabinho. It's going to be very dangerous if they're relying on Fabinho as that pivot.
Yeah, and hell no, I don't want him to get Lavia. I want Lavia to come to us. Because that youth is a baller, in my opinion. And yo, speaking of coming to us, bro, another fee agreed today for Arsenal. That's 3 players looking like wrapped up already. I think that teams are now officially scared of Arsenal. Fans are scared of opposition fans are scared of Arsenal.
And who'd you get that from? Your dreams? Because I'm not scared of
Bro,
Arsenal.
I really think so. That's why I think that people are now trying everything they can to try and pull us down and say, "Oh, Arsenal, you missed your chance. You're not coming back. You missed your chance. Whatever, whatever." And now they're seeing what we're doing in the window. And now I'm seeing people in chat saying, "Oh, Arsenal have to win it this year. Arsenal spending all this money, whatever, whatever." When we're not spending money, everybody says nothing. But now we spend money, everybody wants to talk and say whatever. I think people are just scared of what we're gonna come with next season.
Hey, I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, so I won't bring it down, but
No, but why would you not be scared of Arsenal as an opposition fan? Why would you not be scared of what we have ready to come with next season?
because you've flopped 2 seasons in a row. Simple as.
And we've
I don't know what to
never
tell
done
you.
business like this. I've never seen Arsenal ever come this quickly to the table to have a transfer target and get them. I have never seen it before. Not to the extent that we're doing at the moment, at least in my lifetime, watching to this degree.
I mean, I guess to a certain extent, if you've endured the transfer window where you've only sent Petr Cech and Kim Chalstrom on loan in the winter,
An
of course,
injured Kim Kallstrom, by the way.
right? Yeah, who ended up being injured. I think he played what, 1 game or
Yeah.
whichever. It is a different Arsenal for sure. But even last season, you had your businesses done early. Most of the key players. So, and I know nobody was 105 million pounds like Declan Rice is going to cost. But either way, I mean, Arsenal have failed 2 seasons in a row to get over that hump. And that's why I said I think Liverpool are the only team that can challenge City from what I've seen. And I do think the businesses that Arsenal have done are good. But I just, unless they prove me wrong, and they very well could.
And you see, but all right, so you see how you framed it though earlier. You said Arsenal failed. And I am not going to take that because yes, we did get our business done early, not as early as we've done this season, but even after we did the business last season, I don't think there was anybody under the sun who did not know that Arsenal's business in the transfer window was not finished. As in, to simplify that, every fan knew that we needed more signings on top of who we signed. Now, I think there's a whole different feel amongst everybody that everybody feels like, yo, our team is actually just seriously a few signings away from being complete and not just starting 11 complete. This is complete with depth. That is the crucial part.
Again, it's your opinion. It still doesn't scare me. I'm not saying Arsenal are gonna flop, but
okay, fair enough. We'll have to see. Of course, as we always say, time will tell. But one of the signings that we were looking at last season and for several seasons before, who didn't come to fruition, Youri Tielemans, officially signing for Villa. I think that's people have had their mixed opinions about him, but I think that's a good signing for them. Tielemans is a good player, in my opinion. I think Villa is a fitting side for him. He needs to remain in the Premier League. Championship, I think, is below his level. So I think it's a fit for everybody. Villa are on the rise. They want to get some momentum going and they want to build on what they've accomplished this last season and potentially get even further. I mean, at this rate, they could, I'm not saying they'll make it, but they could challenge for a Champions League spot.
yeah, and they've also signed Pau Torres. I won't say much about Pau Torres. I know we were linked with him. Tottenham were linked with him. I think just because of the fact that he's left-footed. But from what I've seen, he's quite poor in the air, and he's pretty slow. You can tell from what he looks like. The guy just screams slow, So we'll see. I mean, it's I guess it's a good signing for them. From a player who played in the Champions League just prior season and made it to the semifinals and lost against Liverpool to come to Aston Villa. Good signing for them. But I have a bit more doubt about Tielemans. Having watched him a good amount the past 2 years at Leicester, the guy has become incredibly lazy, if that's the right word. And I don't know if that's down to him wanting to move out of Leicester or him necessarily just losing focus, or if that's he can't keep up with the pace of the game now. And I remember having this conversation about Van Dijk at Southampton before he moved to Liverpool. It was pointed out that he was making more mistakes during the first half of the season before he moved to Liverpool compared to his previous seasons at Southampton. And we know how that turned out to be. That was just a dip in form, probably lost his mental focus a little bit after having the deal collapsed. But I think there's a reason why Tielemans couldn't and didn't make the move to a top club.
Yeah, interesting. A central midfielder that has moved to what is we could call an emerging top club, or maybe you want to call them a top club now because they are in the Champions League. Tonali to Newcastle in what is a major signing for both parties, honestly. Tonali coming to the Premier League to, as we said, an emerging, promising side in Newcastle. Newcastle as well, they are really looking like they mean business. But something about them at the moment, as I said in my prediction earlier, makes me feel like they're going to have a good season, but they're still not going to edge that Champions League spot. But where does Tonali fit in all of this?
On paper, it's a good fit. Now they've got two, even three maybe, box-to-box midfielders. Tonali, Guimaraes, and Joelinton / Willock. That player will be probably more attacking bombing forward. But like you said, that's where it concerns me. I think that's an area that teams have attacked Newcastle in the later stages of the season. And I don't think bringing a midfielder like Tonali, mind you, he's the most expensive Italian player ever. And there have not been many Italian players who played, let alone succeeded in the Premier League. I don't think Tonali's top class. Of course, he is young. He was considered the core of AC Milan, and I'm sure he's got quality, but something about the fit and the lack of an out and out holding midfielder, I think is going to come back to haunt them.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I'm hearing different things. I don't watch Tonali like that. I've watched a few matches from him. I know that he does have quality on paper, but help me to understand because I am hearing two different things. I'm hearing that he's kind of I don't want to say box to box midfielder, but kind of like that Gundogan central midfielder type of position. But then I'm also hearing he's like a Pirlo reincarnated.
I think that tells you what his developments have been like. He has never become a top player like he was projected to be. And he's become almost like an awkward player, like stuck in the middle. I mean, I would classify him as a box-to-box midfielder. He was never a top-class midfielder in the Italian league. Newcastle were linked with Barella, right? Barella is three times better, I would say. I mean,
yeah, I think he's
doesn't.
class.
Yeah, Barella's way better than Tonali, and that's why I don't. And plus, you have to remember, I mean, he's practically being forced out of his boyhood club. That cannot be good for. I mean, how much could he possibly be wanting to play for Newcastle? It's just And
That's what I'm wondering, right? Like, we know that the passion for him is not there, but I say that this is an important move for him because I can see him growing from this. The Premier League is a big move for him. He can now become a household name across world football. I think that, and he's relatively young too. This is to me, it's an uncomfortable move for him, but it's a big one. The scare that you may have as a Newcastle fan or as a Tonali fan is we've seen players with this kind of hype make this kind of move and just not live up to it. And based on what you're saying here now, you sound like you don't think he's gonna live up to it, really.
no, yeah, I think the hype just comes from the name, the fact that Newcastle were able to pry a core young player from a club like AC Milan. I mean, that's unheard of, right? I know AC Milan are going through some turmoil with the ownership, but that's really it. Like the guy's not top class for me, and for that price, I'm not disappointed that we missed out on him. If Barella went to Newcastle for that price, I would have been gutted, but not Tonali.
That's all we have time for today. Guys, thanks for tuning in as always. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. Remember to subscribe, to leave comments, and share with your friends. Follow us on social media at FOTBpod. Don't forget to leave a review, rating, and most importantly, don't forget to turn on those notifications. Join us again next time as we discuss the highly anticipated upcoming Premier League action. Thanks again as always. See you then.